What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am so happy to be going live with you on this Friday night. It seems to be a Friday night thing to recap this week's episode of Kailyn Lowry's Coffee Convos podcast. So typically I pre-record my recaps of her podcast, but this time it was just such a big episode. In fact, the episodes are typically like 1 hour long on the dot, but this time it was like about 1 hour and a half, 1 hour, 20 minutes, 1 hour and a half. So I was like, okay, it's just too much content for me to like pre-record, memorize what I'm going to say, flip it all together. You know what I mean? So I felt like, why don't we all just chat? Like we're all at home anyway. So why not? Guys, thank you so much for being here. It is so nice to see all of you. And welcome to my new channel members. We've got Jennifer Layson and Jennifer Berger. This is so cool. It's like the Jennifer day over here. And I'm seeing my OG channel members in here as well. So it is so nice to see all of you here. Just a quick heads up. So tomorrow, as of today, I'm not sure that I'm going to be doing any videos on my channel for a couple of weeks. I've got some things to do, so I'm not going to be uploading for quite a while. I am going to be recapping season 1, episode 10 of Teen Mom 2, the one streaming on Netflix tomorrow for my channel members. And after that, I don't know. It's going to be a little while until you guys see me. Just a quick FYI. Anyway, guys, hopping into the recap. This is what happened when Devoin popped onto Kail's Coffee Convos podcast. The first thing Kail does is try to set him up to drag Brianna, which is pretty on brand for Kail because we know that she's had this rivalry with Brianna for years at this point, you know? And as much as you guys know that I dislike, Nina goes, "Are you planning a wedding?" I have to laugh. No. I just have some stuff to attend to, but I will be back as soon as possible. So Kail has this long-standing rivalry with Brianna, which I think is warranted, because Brianna was pretty grimy. She went behind her back, tried to date her ex-husband or whatever. And it was just like, she was like matching shirts with Kail's kids. It was weird, so I get why Kail would have it out for her. And so anyway, so she's like, "So Devoin, why do people pronounce your name wrong?" Remember, Devoin's name is actually supposed to be pronounced Devoin. And the reason I'm just going to call him Devoin is because, listen, he's allowed for everybody to call him Devoin for years, to the point where me all of a sudden changing it, I can't remember to half the time, you know what I mean? And it like kind of causes me to trip up, and it's not something to be rude. And then on this podcast episode as well, he said, well, it's been happening forever. So it's kind of something that like, I accept or I roll with or whatever. And it wasn't a Brianna thing. So Kail was like, I just want to like clear it up. It's not because Brianna mispronounces your name or whatever. Guys, how do you feel about Devoin's name and the way that it is pronounced? I have to say that it's not exactly uncommon, in America or wherever, for people's names to be spelled one way, but pronounced a completely different way. You know what I mean? Like, for example, Raven-Symoné, the actress, her name, Simone, the Simone part of Raven, has like the accent aigu at the end. So you would think her name is Raven-Symoné, but she doesn't pronounce it that way. She pronounces it Raven-Symoné. Then there's Dwayne Wade, the basketball player. Sorry, that wasn't me. That was my phone. There's Dwayne Wade, the basketball player. His name is spelled Dwyane. So it should be what? Dwyan or whatever, but it's pronounced Dwayne. So I think that's why people are kind of like, well, I don't know. At this point, like maybe it is like mispronounced. And just Devoin doesn't really roll off the tongue quite the same way that Devoin does. So, yeah, I'm looking at myself. There's like me on the screen over there. I'm like, what's going on? What is going on? Anyway, you guys, so that little issue was kind of at the beginning, and it seems like Devoin, it doesn't really mind people like saying his name as Devoin or whatever. So that's why I'm just going to continue with that. Sorry, I'm going to catch up and see some of your comments about the issue right here, you guys. So Michelle says she finally made it. Yes. Hey, Michelle. We don't get to see you around in the channel member videos enough. Come on over tomorrow, girl. Dacia is here. I remember you from her last recap of Teen Mom 2. Nice to see you again. I see you got a new photo as well, just as fly as the last one. I like his name. Yes, Devoin. It's a perfectly good name. It's just he's allowed people to pronounce it a different way for so long that it's kind of stuck. I like how Devoin did absolutely no research on Kail or the podcast. He seemed to know nothing about her. That stuck out to me as well. He was asking Kail how many like children she has, what their names are, like all sorts of different things, where I was like, okay, come on, like you really know nothing. You're on this show. So like, I get it when he says that he doesn't watch the show. A lot of people claim that with him. It's pretty damn obvious that he doesn't. Lacey says, I remember you trying to use his old name, but it's not his brand anymore. I know, I kept trying, but like it would trip me up in videos. I'd be like lost in the middle of my sentence, like Devoin, so I'm just going to go with what I kind of remember. Jen says, all I gather that Devoin gets to spend real time with his daughter and long-term girlfriend, even though Brianna tries to sabotage it. So, okay, I see it. What's going on here? Sorry, you guys, the chat is moving a little bit quickly for me right now, but I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how Brianna is having a meltdown about it. Didn't she start like hopping into Chris's comment section or something like that when she heard about Devoin being on this podcast or whatever? It's quite, it's a little stale at this point, but whatever, I get it. Wait, Devoin was on Kale's podcast? Yes, it was the episode that came out yesterday. It was. And thank you, Odie. I am so happy to have you as a viewer. Thank you so, so much. So you guys, once the name issue was kind of cleared up, we get into the time that Devoin apparently forgot to pick up Nova from gymnastics. And so, of course, he had a story for that. And I want to know whether or not you guys believed it to be like a true story. So this is what happens. He goes, I was down in Miami to party with my friend. It was my friend's birthday. And that's when Brianna asked me to pick up to drop off Nova at gymnastics. And it was very last minute. I wasn't expecting it or anything like that because remember, a couple weeks or a month earlier, she told me that I would never have that privilege again. She would never ask me again. So I was kind of like, all right, well, she's in one of those moods where she wants to not allow me to, do these sorts of things with my daughter. So it's not something I was planning to do on my way back. But as I'm heading back, I get this last minute call or text or whatever from Brianna asking me to drop Nova off at gymnastics. And so, it was last minute again, but I did agree to do it and I made it happen. I dropped Nova off at gymnastics on time. And so he also says, okay, well, then I get this request from her, I think it was after he had already dropped Nova off, asking for him to pick her up, which was an originally part of the plan, according to him. And so he's like, it wasn't part of my plan for the day. I hadn't, okay, but I'll do it because it's my daughter. And the thing is that about 1 hour until Nova was supposed to be picked up from gymnastics, my friend had a flat tire on the side of the road. And he called me to ask me to help with the flat tire. And that's when I was so into helping my friend with his flat tire that I forgot I was supposed to pick up Nova from daycare. Do you guys believe that story, or is it too damn convenient? To me, it's too damn convenient. It's okay to just say, I forgot. I don't know. I don't buy that story at all. Does his friend not have a AAA membership or something like that? There are official people you can call when your tire or whatever happens to your car. There are people you can call that are not Devoin Austin. I don't know. It's so crazy to me that throughout this entire interview, he doesn't really acknowledge his wrongdoing in literally anything. Even when Kail would ask him about dragging Brianna on social media and this and that, he always had another angle, to shift the blame or to talk about why he's in the right for it. And, it didn't sit right with me. It did not sit right with me. See, Andrea's saying the same thing. Your friend can't call AAA. No, come on. You pay for your membership and this is what it's for them to come and help you. See, Zenobia does not buy it as well. No, it's looking, okay, look, regardless, Nova comes first. You can't forget your kid. I agree. But I had to tell you guys a story, y'all. My parents used to forget me. Sorry, I need to be farther away from this. I keep hearing myself, my P's on this. My parents used to forget. I'm the middle child, you guys. So my parents, were a little out to lunch on me sometimes. So they would forget me at school. I remember a time where my coaches, my basketball coaches, had to drive me home. I pop up on the doorstep. My parents are like, oh, were we supposed to get you today? Okay, come on in. So yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, Kail's this one's for Javi. Yes, she absolutely is really sticking it to her for what she did with Javi all these years alone. Tracy says, no, maybe it is true because leave us poor folk alone. We can't afford AAA. I don't even know how much AAA costs because when I was living in Ottawa, I live downtown, so I just like walked everywhere. I didn't have a car. And then here, obviously, I just use the metro or whatever. So I have no clue. But yeah, like I can get the whole like forgetting thing or whatever. But I feel like he should have just said that he forgot instead of making up this AAA, my friend tire situation. I don't buy it personally. So next, Kailyn and Lindsay complain about all of the drama between Devoin and Brianna being public, which is rich coming from Kail, who's constantly dragging her baby daddies across, an assortment of platforms. Sometimes, you've got her on Teen Mom, speaking so horribly about them. You've got her on, like TikTok throwing shots. Sometimes she's on Instagram. Sometimes she's on Twitter. You name it. She's on there talking trash about her baby daddies. And therefore, I don't think she has a leg to stand on, on this sort of an issue. And she's also got her podcast, right? Of course, she's also doing that sort of thing there. So it was kind of like, all right, right message, wrong messenger. Anyway, Devoin claims that he's trying to just finally defend himself after Brianna trashing him for years. And that's the reason why he's doing this. And I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I'm kind of like, I get you wanting to defend yourself, but there's a way to defend yourself that does not involve these really kind of like derogatory statements that you're making about your baby mama at this point. Again, that's an example of him refusing to accept that what he's doing is wrong. Like he's got an excuse for it. It's like, yeah, it is, but this is why I'm right. It's like, either accept that you're wrong or don't say anything. Like stop trying to constantly justify every single thing you do because you're not always in the right. I'm so happy you're here, Leslie. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. And Kail should invite Brianna on. I would love to see an episode where they kind of try to bury the hatchet or something between the two of them. Is he working? Right now, he is a little bit of a cook. He talked a lot during the episode about like him being like into like making chicken wings and stuff. He's got this client that orders 100 wings from him every Wednesday. He's currently trying to name a food truck because he wants to have a food truck in the future. So he is trying to make things happen for himself at this point, which is quite great for him. So when it comes to how Devoin actually met Brianna, he's like, I met her the way she meets every man on social media. So we started flirting there, and then like a couple of months went by. Then we decided to be like, kind of like in a relationship. And 4 months into our relationship, she was pregnant, which I was kind of like, oh, that's quite impressive. Because for Brianna, 4 months before falling pregnant is quite a long time. Remember with Lewis, she got pregnant within 30 days or something like, no, literally, not something like that, literally like 30 days. So this was a little bit of, Brianna being, what's the word? Taking it slow back in the day. And it is just so wild to me. So, he also says that his mom knew Brianna was pregnant before he even got to fess up to her that Brianna was pregnant. And he talked about how Roxanne wanted Brianna to abort the baby and everything. Apparently that played out on their season of 16 and Pregnant or Teen Mom 3 or whatever it was. I always say that I did not watch their season of it or anything like that. But yeah, that's apparently what happened. And, one thing that I did like about Devoin in this episode was that he did admit that he was wrong when he was younger. He's like, I was way too immature to check up on Brianna when she was pregnant because I felt like I didn't need to communicate with her once we were broken up, because at that point, I didn't care about her at all. And I didn't realize that I still needed to keep like, this kind of like line of communication or keep checking in on her or whatever, because we had a child that, we were going to have together as well. So, with that being said, we also get into the fact that he lived with Brianna and her family for 2 months. And he says that is a time when he got really close to Brianna's younger daughter, Stella. And you guys, we saw it all play out on this past season of Teen Mom 2, how Stella kind of acted like, not Chris, sorry, you guys, how Devoin was like basically her dad or whatever. She literally said that she doesn't love her dad. She likes Devoin. And that was a really, really, really big moment. Hey, Julia, it's nice to see you again. I hope you're doing well, girl. Let me see what else forgot here. I think Brianna and Kail are more similar than they care to admit, and that is why they are repelling each other. They're just both two like slimy, sneaky, petty people, and they both see that in one another, and they just don't like it. They're mirrors to one another. This was definitely a petty Betty moment because you know damn well Kail would never be this accepting of her baby daddy's mistakes. I agree. She seemed to be very, very sympathetic towards Devoin and a lot of the mistakes that he's made over the years. And that's not the same type of grace that she would ever in a million years extend to any of her baby daddies, you know? But going back to the Stella situation, Devoin recounts stories about how Stella would always beat Nova to the door to greet him when he would come home. And he said that he really loved that scene where Stella said that she loved Devoin. Remember, Devoin is her dad or whatever. And he's like, sometimes I guess when Brianna's upset with me, she and her mom and her sister make sure to tell Stella that I'm not her dad. But like whenever everything's all fine, then they let her say that. So it is quite interesting to see how they kind of use children as pawns against one another. And it does make me very sad as well, right? Because I don't think kids deserve that level of confusion. It's either you're going to, allow her to kind of like say this and grow out of it eventually, or you're going to try to nip it in the bud. You shouldn't really be going back and forth on something like that. It's very hard. And speaking of growing out of it, Devoin says that he does think that she will probably kind of like grow out of it at some point in her life because she's still too young to really understand, his kind of role as Nova's father, but not her own father, and why he's coming around despite all of that. And he's like, my dad was the same way towards my mom. Like, she had these other kids by other men, and he still kind of acted like he was the dad, and like he accepted them as his own. He says that he's got, 3 kids or whatever, even though it's just me or this other person or whatever. So like he gets it, and that's why he is so comfortable with it. But guys, I have to say, I was shocked when Devoin said that he was 28 years old, because on the show, he kind of just seems like a vagabond, someone with like no solid career. Yeah, he has jobs, he has, things he does or whatever, but there's never anything permanent. Even his housing or whatever, it's a roommate situation. I would think that someone at his age who is a father would be a little bit more established and serious about where they are in their life or whatever. But I don't know. I was really, really shocked. I keep like permanently seeing these people as like 25 or whatever ish, because like, they seem like they're still trying to figure it out. So when he said he was 28, like, near 30 at this point, I'm like, oh, all right then, I guess. Misty Blue 89, thank you for the super chat. She says, you look great as usual. Thank you. I bet Brianna will be trying to date Chris soon. These girls are petty. And the funny thing about that is that Brianna has tried to date Chris in the past. Well, I shouldn't say that. She used to flirt on his photos. She'd be like, oh, like looking good or whatever, like little things like that to try and get his attention the last time she was upset at Kail. But who knows what's going on behind the scenes in the DMs, because it seems as though Chris is really, I don't know, he's really trying to pretend that he is the jolted lover, whatever, ever since certain things have come out about Kail and Javi potentially like linking up and like hooking back up again or whatever. Remember when Lauren exposed them? Chris went online like, oh my God, like people break your heart or this or that. So, don't be surprised if you hear about them hooking up or something like that once she's done with her other Javi in New York, because she still is in a relationship with that guy that she bought the automatic weapon for. Brianna wasn't dragged. He told his side of the story, yes, and it just so happened to not be that flattering to her. And I'm really glad that he tried to, open up about that, because a lot of the stuff that he told was quite shocking. I do have to say, kids still his age don't lie about their feelings. Devoin is obviously there more than Lewis. I completely agree, but honestly, who isn't there more than Lewis? If they're ordering pizza once a month, the pizza man is there more than Lewis, As sad, but it is very, very true. So now, Devoin said, here's the thing that confused me about the podcast. Devoin said, while he was living with Brianna and her family, he was able to stack his money up to buy his apartment. So I was like, oh, he was a homeowner, but he wasn't bragging about it or anything like that. Wow, that's really impressive and that's great. But then he kept kind of like contradicting that throughout the episode. Did anybody else notice that as well? I found that really odd. So anyway, he calls up Brianna and family. Oh, this is the part, guys, where it gets juicy. I'm going to want some of you guys' input on this as well. I'm going to put a link in the description below so you guys can hop on by video or by audio or whatever to tell me what you thought about this, because my jaw dropped at this next part. Okay. By the way, I see Chelsea is here. Hey, Chelsea. She's one of my OGs. She's always my videos, my lives. Pretty Jackson is another one as well. Hey, ladies. It is so nice to see you guys. So Devoin said that he was present for Nova's birth, and he was just so shocked at the way it was played out on 16 and Pregnant. You know, he was like, I was at the hospital. I watched Nova come out when she was born. And the parts that you saw on the show, I was downstairs, and but on the show they acted like I was never there. Brianna said out of her own mouth that I didn't show up to Nova's birth because I went to go play basketball. How like horrible, how honestly, I feel like it's racist as well. Like this guy, like he went to play basketball instead of watching his child be born? Really? Would they say that about anybody else? I don't know. I don't think so. And it just made me so like my jaw was on the floor, you guys, and it still is about this situation. Like, why would Brianna, as a mom, want that out there about her daughter's father? Why would she want, because like these kids are all going to watch these shows eventually, so why would she want her daughter to feel that way about her own dad and believe that about her own dad as well? It's very bizarre. At first I was like, is this an MTV thing too? Because like, you know, maybe she was young and they're the ones who were trying to push like a certain narrative and they were pressuring her or something. I don't know. Devoin said that MTV wasn't actually there at the hospital, but you know, they sent in the home video, and then that's kind of like, I guess maybe they weren't recording him while he was in the room. They only recorded when he was out, and then they kind of like stayed. I don't know what it was, but it really like, I'm speechless about it. You guys can see I am. So he said that basically what happened was after Nova was born, Roxanne was like, Devoin, like, you know, it's been a long day. Why don't you go home, like change your clothes, get something to eat? And so he felt like, okay, well, I should be signing a birth certificate first, you know? And he's like, this is weird. So I'm going to stay, grab something to eat, then come back up. And when he came up, he asked them, you know, about like the birth certificate situation. Like, is the birth certificate lady coming, like, you know, to sign that? And then at that point, Roxanne apparently was like, well, why? Like, why do you need to know that kind of info? And then he spazzed out. And then the lady had already come. He finds out that she already came before while he was downstairs or whatever. And then again, Devoin was pissed, and Roxanne decided to call security on him. Was it necessary for Roxanne to call security? I didn't watch that episode play out on 16 and Pregnant. Sorry, you guys. I'm going to leave the link down below. Hop on over if you want to leave like voice comment about the situation, or you want to hop on video, hop on over. It's the StreamYard link right there. But yeah, like how weird is that? That she, first of all, tried to get him out of there, like to not sign the birth certificate for his own child. And then they kind of try to portray it to MTV or whatever that he wasn't even present for the birth of the child. And then she calls security on him for being pissed off about the situation, which is like a rightful reaction for him, right? Like the whole thing is just so damn weird, you guys. Like I don't know. I can't. So I'm really curious about you guys' own opinions about this. So let's see. What are you guys saying? There is a little bit of a delay between myself and you guys. So I'm just parsing through the comments over here. Roxanne needs to chill out and let Brianna fight her own battles. I agree. Honestly, it seems as though Roxanne is really determined to have her daughters be as her granddaughters to be as fatherless as her own daughters were. And it's very, very sad. Shania says, yeah, it was pretty freaking racist, the way it was portrayed and the way that he was treated there, I imagine as well. At least Devoin wants to see his kid. Yeah, like, is that not a good thing? Why is that something that they want to prevent? Like, it's very weird. I do know that Devoin had like a little bit of a sketchy history back in that time. So is that something they wanted to prevent? I don't know. I really should watch their season of 16 and Pregnant or Teen Mom 3 or whatever to get a little bit more information about the backstory here. So if someone knows that and like can help me kind of connect the dots onto why they're so desperate to portray him negatively, I would absolutely appreciate that, you guys. Let me know. Hey, Shannon Van, it is so nice to see you here. Let me see. Elena, I really hope you're smart enough to know you can sleep with someone and still be racist, girl. What the heck? So why did they make up the whole basketball thing for Nova? I don't understand it either. The whole thing is so weird. Megan says, Devoin stands no chance against Brianna's family. They're like a nest of black widows. That is exactly how you describe them. I see someone isn't down here who wants to share their opinions. Hang on one quick second, Kay. I'm going to hop on over. That's like the perfect description for them, you guys. The absolute perfect description for them, because what else is it? It seems like they want to like just get rid of everybody in their path, every man in their path, and it's quite sad. Like there's no reason for it. It's bizarre. So next up, let's see. He called Brianna out for the lie. So he said that he confronted Brianna about the portrayal, the whole like I missed my daughter's birth to play basketball. He's like, why would you say that? You know that's not true. But he doesn't say what she said when he confronted her about it. Oh, I'm seeing a good comment here from Brandy I want to get to. How does he have to pay child support if she left him off the birth certificate? If I were him, I'd throw a fit until they put him on it. I think that's a very good question. You guys, does anybody know if they ever wound up fixing that down the line or something like that? The whole birth certificate thing, because it is a good question. Is he technically responsible for her then if there's like they don't have any paperwork to prove anything? That is quite interesting. Let's see, you guys, what else is down here? So Brianna tried to, oh, speaking of, so the legal stuff that they actually went through didn't even have anything to do with the kids. Brianna tried to get a restraining order against him. He didn't say why, but he said that she showed up in court with her lawyer. He showed up to self-represent and he won the case. Like they did not go forward with the restraining order against him. And so this is where he kind of starts to contradict himself as far as the buying the apartment thing went. Remember, a little bit earlier, he said that while staying with the Dejesus family, he managed to stack up enough money to buy an apartment. But then here he says he wants to move out of the apartment with his roommate because Brianna claims that it makes Nova uncomfortable that he's got a roommate there, that Nova's uncomfortable by the roommate. So I'm like, why is he the one moving out if he's the one who owns it? Right? And then he claims that Brianna was lying about Nova being uncomfortable around the roommate. He claims that Nova regularly talks to the roommate, asks him for, I don't know on what, but apparently. And then he claims that he would trust his roommate to watch Nova alone. And then over there, I was like, oh, sorry, I see Deidre in here. Hang on one second, you guys. Let's see what she wants to say. Hey, Deidre.
Hey.
Let me see. How can I add you to my screen? There we are. How are you? What do you want to say, girl?
How are you guys?
Good. Thank you. So I want to know, what do you have to say? What do you think about the situation with Devoin and like his portrayal, the Brianna thing? I want to know.
I think that they have really been painting Devoin to be the bad guy, and he really isn't. I don't think he's as bad as they make him seem. Like, can he do better? Yes. But I think that he really does try, and they don't make it easy for him or any easier. Like, they're never appreciative of anything that he does.
I completely agree. And it's very bizarre, especially when they've got like a Lewis over there who's literally not doing anything. And he's much older than like Devoin, Brianna, like you know what I mean? Both of them. It's very bizarre, right?
Right. I totally agree. Like, I'm not saying Devoin is perfect. He does need to improve, but I see him try way more than Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think with this season, he has improved a whole lot more than he has in the past.
And so what do you think the motive is behind the way that they treat him?
At first, I thought it was for ratings, but at this point, with how much hate they're getting behind their actions, I'm like, I thought they would have let up by now and really just been like, okay, well, maybe we were wrong. Like, you guys see it. You're saying it. We're the only one that's saying he's the bad guy, really. I think everybody has been on the same page with Devoin has improved, except them. So I'm hoping this season really shows them that even though he's not a perfect dad, he tries.
Exactly. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, is that what they want? Or is that the reason why they're doubling down on him? To me, it seems like they want a Lewis situation for Nova. They don't want a man around her. I think they really want her to be the same way that they were, And I don't know if Roxanne had a dad in her life or not. I'm guessing no, just based on the way that she doesn't see it as an important figure to have in a child's life. And so, I think they're toxic as a family. And it makes me so sad.
I agree. I totally agree. It makes me sad because it's like, it seems like they don't know any better. Like,
yes,
a generational thing. Like you said, the cycle repeats itself. So
absolutely.
I hate it for the kids, but I just thought that being on the show and having outsiders' opinions and just putting them in a spotlight that's not in a positive way would open their eyes more. But it doesn't seem like it has.
And last question before I let you go. So Devon's statement that he just made right here, which is that he trusts his roommate so much that he would leave Nova alone with her. What did you think about that? Is that something that you would as well, or?
I don't trust any man. I have a 7-year-old. I don't trust any man outside of her dad around her. And that's just,
Mhm.
you know, I feel that Devon has a right to feel that he can trust them, but I wouldn't. So,
Yeah. I'm with you on that, girl. Thank you so much for your opinions. It's so nice to see you.
you're welcome and thanks for having me.
Of course. Have a good weekend. Thanks. Oh, I love when you guys hop on. It's so nice to like put faces to like names and everything. She was so cute. But yes, you guys, before I get to Perfectly Piper's comment, I feel the exact same way. I like at that point when he said I would trust my male roommate to watch my daughter alone, I was like, all right, hang on, wait a minute, let's not get too carried away here. But at the same time, I'm like, am I being sexist? I don't know. So I really want to get as many opinions as possible. I think that that's something that I would never let up on, though. So Perfectly Piper, thank you so much for the super chat. And I love chatting with you every week in our member section about Teen Mom 2 Season 1. So thank you. Part of me thinks Roxanne has more power than people let on. Maybe she has more control over her daughter's storyline and Devon's portrayal. She very well might. She might be like coaching Brianna, like, all right, we need to bring this, we got to do that. Like, she's a very strong personality, and honestly, she's so, in my opinion, so toxic. She wants all of her daughters to be like in broken relationships, broken homes, and it seems like she doesn't care that that's what happened. That's what's happening to her grandchildren as well. So I wouldn't doubt it. This is the woman who was she was throwing shoes at Devon, she was throwing vases, she was standing up in restaurants. She obviously lives for reality TV and reality attention. She waited until she was on a reality show to tell her daughter Brittany that the dad she thought was her real dad was not her real dad and that her real dad was dead. Like, if that is not someone who is like so hyper aware of reality TV and like what you need to do and bring to be relevant and to be on them, I don't know what is. So that's why I completely agree with you, Piper. Something is all the way off. And I think it goes in tandem with what Pretty Jackson's saying, which is that, listen, Brianna's not a bright person. Y'all know I say, Brianna, I think she's clinically dumb. And so she does need someone like, to pull the strings on her to let her know what she needs to do to still hang on to her spot on the show. And that just might be Roxanne, as Piper says, you guys. So after Devon gets into the roommate story, he says that it's funny that Brianna doesn't trust his roommate to be around Nova, but was fine having Nova around a felon. Devon says, listen, I was friends with a guy named Shaq. Well, he didn't say his name, but we know it was Shaq because he said that this guy released a tape of Brianna, and we all know that guy was Shaq. So Devon says, I was friends with this guy, and Brianna got with him after me, and she knew he was a felon. He was a friend of mine. And, so why is it that she was okay with having Nova around him, but she's not okay with having Nova around my roommate, who has no kind of a criminal record? That is an interesting question. To me, I'm kind of like, well, I wouldn't leave the child around alone with either of them, but it does point out the kind of a double standard that Brianna is working with. And then so I really want to know. By the way, as he wraps it up, he goes, anyway, my lease is almost up, so I'm going to be moving up soon. And again, I'm like, what lease? You just said that you stacked up all this money to buy your apartment. Do you mean to rent your apartment? At that point, it was kind of obvious that he kind of misspoke a little bit earlier, but it was still like, I don't know, it was making my brain itchy, y'all. So I'm seeing a lot of people say here, didn't Farrah go on a date with a guy named Shaq? Surely it's not the same guy. Yes, she did go on a date, but it was a different guy because Farrah lived in Des Moines, Iowa, and they lived in Orlando, Florida. So definitely a different guy. You don't leave your kid with any dude. I completely agree. What else is going on? I only like Brittany. I don't care for Roxanne or Brianna at all. They're like two dramatic, negative Nancys. I agree. When it comes to your kids, there's no such thing as someone you can trust. I agree with that too. I don't know. I feel like I'll be like the most like paranoid, anxious parent ever. It sounds like the scariest job, you guys. I think he meant his deposit for the apartment. I think so too now, Shay. I think that's it, you guys. Here, Miss Girlman says, I think they all aren't that smart. Yeah, I can agree with that too, you guys. Strawberry Rain says, Brittany's always angry. Why? I think anyone would be angry if they aborted their kid to support their sister to help raise her one child, then their sister turns out to be a bird who gets pregnant by the next guy within 30 days. And now here she is stuck raising two of her sister's kids while she I don't know, dates guys she meets on Instagram or Twitter, goes to get all those trapezoid booties from Dr. Miami like every couple of years just to like not keep up with the diet or whatever. It's just a mess. I'd be angry if that were my sister too. It's better to be that way than to be reckless. Yeah, right. I think so too. You really can never be too damn safe, you guys. You can't. So let's hear. So then we get into Devoin saying that he used to try to like do the scenes with MTV. Like they used to be like, okay, well, like you can have these solo scenes of what you're doing with Nova. We'll film. But he's like, it used to be such a hassle to have them around, and they would never even air the scenes that we've taped together. So now I prefer to spend time with Nova off camera. It's more natural and fun anyway, and it's just not worth the hassle to not be included in the show in that capacity. And so then they get into the specials. Remember, everyone's got a being special. It kicked off with Macy. We got a being Nathan. We got a being Brianna, being like Kale, being Brittany. And so he's like, why was there a being Brittany and why is there not a being Devoin? I have a quick question for you. I know that there was a being Gary, but was there ever a being, I know there was a being V. Was there a being, who am I thinking? Was there a being Joe? And was there a being Javi as well? Because I know that Javi would absolutely jump on the opportunity. So I'm really curious about that. Or is it exclusively Devoin that is being excluded? Was there a being Jeremy? Was there a being Corey? Was there a being Cole? Was there? Yes, there was a being Simon, which was so random, right? Because he dated Farrah for like 2 seasons and like wasn't a dad or anything. Yeah, there's a being Butch, Mom's Talking SHIT podcast, being Butch as well. Okay, I'm seeing being Javi was one, and was there a being Joe as well? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Javi had one. Okay, Joe. Oh, Farrah also had a being. Being Nathan was nuts. It was nuts. I knew he was like, but like after watching that show, Shave My Back, Mom, and the way he would just talk about her and to her was wild. I remember MTV did a special, maybe 4 or 5 of the dads. They went camping or something, and it was boring. Okay, so then if they did that, then I know that Jeremy and Corey would have been involved because they were all together. So I'm seeing conflicting. I'm seeing a no being Joe, and then a yes being Joe. Yes, there was a being Barbara. That was nice. And then they did a dating show for Barbara. So why is it? So it seems like everybody got a being, but not Devoin. So it really seems like they're desperate to perpetuate this idea that he's a deadbeat. But Nathan is a deadbeat, and he got a being special. Why not Devoin? What's going on with that? And I actually genuinely felt bad for him when he said that, Kale's podcast is the most special thing he's ever done. I'm like, well, if being around Kale is the most special thing you've ever done, your life is not it's not looking too good. So he says, honestly, that's sadder and I do have to say that it's sadder than the lie that MTV put out there about him missing the birth of his child, to go play basketball or whatever. I feel really bad for you, dude. I'm sorry. I did creep into his DMs, you guys, and I asked him, like, when he first said that he's going to do his YouTube channel, and like I did a video on it and promoted his channel. I was like, dude, like, let's do an interview, like, on my channel. Let's talk about like what's going on, because I was making like so many videos on him and Brianna because every day they would be in a new fight online on Instagram, and so I was like, just come on my channel, set the record straight. And I don't know if it was like in his spam folder of his Instagram because he doesn't follow me or whatever, but I don't know. If you guys want to see him on here, let him know. Come on here. Let's talk. So anyway, he says that he sees Nova every Saturday and that Nova has a bit busier schedule than he does. Remember, she's in school, then she does the gymnastics and then like other activities, like, and then filming for the show as well. So, sometimes when she comes over, she's so exhausted. He usually likes to do activities with her, but last time she was just so burned out that they just chilled at home, ordered in, and, had a really good time. And so the reason why Devoin keeps doing the show, despite everything going on with his representation and whatnot, is because it's going to save him money to eventually buy a house and, put together that food truck, that wing truck that he wants to do. So Kale talked about how Leah and her baby so remember how earlier this season of Teen Mom 2, Kale was complaining that Joe was controlling or whatever, or insecure because he did not want for Isaac to be able to like dictate who he was staying with or when he goes this way or that way or whatever, like she wanted, because at that point, Isaac preferred staying at her house a little bit longer. And then when Isaac suddenly wanted to stay at Joe's house a little bit longer, all of a sudden she had a revelation that she was giving this child adult responsibilities or whatever. they talk about that. And she said that the reason why, sorry, I keep blanking. I don't know what it is. I'm just having like blank moments. And she said that the reason why she even thought to do that was because Leah has this revolving door policy with her baby daddies where the girls just say, I want to like go see my dad this week or like whatever, or like right now or this or that. And they just go ahead and do it. And it just works out to be about 50-50. So she thought that she could replicate it, but it couldn't, be that way. But listen, Kale, you've got 3 different baby daddies and Leah's got 2, only one of which is really seeing the kids like that. Like Jeremy's typically out of town or whatever. So technically Leah's like co-parenting with one person, So it's a lot different and it's a lot simpler as well. So I could definitely see why it would not really work the same way. And Leah, of course, is on good terms with both of her baby daddies. And Kale, she's never on good terms with all 3 at once. It's always like kind of whack-a-mole. Like if one's up, the next one's down, or 2's down, or, all 3, like, it's just never all that cut and dry for her. So it is a little bit wild to see her imagine that work out for herself. And I don't buy the story either. To me, it just seemed very clear, cut and dry that she just didn't like that one time as Isaac, or like she started to realize that Isaac wanted to spend more time at Joe's house that she had anticipated. What's good for the goose is not always good for the gander, y'all. Devoin then says that Brianna would regularly pop up with random activities to do with Nova on days that she knew Devoin was supposed to spend time with her. He was like, she would purposely be like, oh, let's do this like big grand thing, like go to Disney World or whatever, like knowing that it's like weekend time and he's not going to have something that big and grand planned to do with Nova because remember, he's on a budget, not like Brianna, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, like that seems like really like manipulative and frustrating or whatever. He also claims that the narrative can't be rewritten because producers are dead set on maintaining this negative image of him. And honestly, I do agree with him. Until they give him a being special to really clear the air and really show everything, I'm going to have to side with him because it is just way too bizarre that he is the only person in Teen Mom 2 land who has not gotten a being special. Did we already answer whether or not Cole had a being Cole special? Because if he did as well, or honestly, even if he didn't have the special, I imagine that he was offered it because they're really, really, tried to push that fairy tale thing. Though at least they got a special on their love story. I know that Tinder gas station love story of theirs, like they got a special for it. So yeah, it really seems that there's a weird treatment of Devoin that is a little bit inexplicable. He's a deadbeat, yet he's popping up every single week to see his daughter. Funny how that worked, right? So then it kind of comes on to Twitter again. Devoin says that he met his girlfriend on Twitter and, he liked her tweets and her username was filthy. So why not? And they've actually been together for a really long time and she's a cute girl. They've been together for I think 7 years and she helps like style him for the reunions and stuff. So that nice like plaid suit that he was wearing at the last reunion is what she chose out. And so what else? Kale tells Devoin to stop. Oh, this is rich. Kale tells Devoin to stop posting every like little like fight or text or whatever online. And she claims that she regrets doing it with her baby daddies. But is that really true? Because she keeps doing it. Not revealing text messages or whatever, but like being shady, like whether it's on social media or on a podcast, she's always been shady and she's never stopped. And she actually talks about how like the kids can see it, which is really interesting to me now to hear straight from, the horse's mouth that the children are now Googling these things and seeing these things. And especially in the case of Nova, I feel especially bad for her. If Kale's 7-year-old Lincoln is out here knowing what's going on, like of course, like an 11-year-old like Nova would as well. So Devoin actually brings up Brianna trashing his mom in an interview. Remember how his mom talked about how bizarre it was that Nova and them were trying to act like it was the first time that Nova was going to be seeing Devoin's mom / her grandma. Brianna was like, Nova, you're going to be meeting your grandma again. I don't know if you remember her. Like, the last time you saw her, you were a baby. Devoin's like, the hair that Nova had at that point was the hairstyle that my mother had get done for her. She always does her hair. And so, that's what his mom was calling out. He's like, why would they portray me like that? Like, it's obviously scripted or fake or whatever kind of interaction. They're confusing this poor child because she does see me. And on the show, they acted like she hadn't seen her in years and years and years and years. And yeah, again, that is bizarre that they keep kind of trying to push this weird, like, alternate universe, alternate reality about the nature of his relationship with his daughter and her relationship with the rest of her family as well. And, I'm kind of curious why we don't see more of Brianna's side of the family at the very least. Like, are there other people besides, her, Brittany and Roxanne? Like, I know we saw her aunt once at like the baby shower or whatever, but like, are there men in this family? Like, or do the women just multiply through osmosis? I really genuinely want to know. Anyway, Devoin also says that he's never watched the show, and I don't blame him, just knowing how far from reality, alleged reality, because remember, this is just his point of view, this is just his perspective, they portray him. Like, I would be really frustrated as well. It's smart for him to just kind of lay low, cash the checks, and keep it moving. He says, listen, I barely even appear anyway, so I just watch the clips that y'all tag me in online. And then he reiterates how certain text messages that Brianna claims to have sent and received from him were faked for the show as well. So it's the one thing I will say, though, is he provided receipts of this. He provided really good, solid receipts of how the text messages were faked in a couple of episodes on the show. So I definitely do believe him on that as well. And then in closing, he says that he and Brianna are cool in person, but not on the internet, which is weird. Kale actually made a really good point, which was, okay, well, maybe this is a cue for you guys to stay off the internet. Keep your beef off the internet and just keep it like to in-person rendezvous, like communications, whatever it might be. And so Devoin says, listen, I'm technically not really even coming at Brianna. It's the people who are portraying me this way. It's like the powers that be. But listen, Brianna's the one who's like saying these things in her voiceover. She's the one who said to your daughter on television that she'd never like seen your mom in a long time. So it's not just the powers that be. It's her as well. Anyway, guys, that's basically what happened. Look, we're like 45 minutes in to this. Like, that's how much happened in that podcast. It was so much content. There's no way I could have just like pre-recorded it. There's more content in this podcast than there was in, I don't know, like all the episodes of Teen Mom OG combined, because that show right now is on its last leg. I think the only thing that we're really getting content-wise is like the situation between Bentley and Ryan, and even that is something that like I feel like it's just way too much at this point. Tars Talk says, I've always had a soft spot for Devoin. At least he was willing to stick around and put up with all this BS that comes along with it. Kudos to him. I do agree. It goes to say a little something that he's willing to accept all of this and put up with all of this for the sake of his daughter. Like, he truly does love her. Yes, Candy, it's true. Kale's got all the advice except when it pertains to her. But I'm probably the same way as well. I gotta admit. Erica says, Kale's out here acting like Dr. Phil, but her entire life's a mess. Ain't that the damn truth? It's funny how that works. I have a feeling that Brianna's potentially setting Nova up to be a teen mom. I think she just wants her to be fatherless and just complicated and this and that. Of course, here, Beth, thank you so much for your insightful comments. You guys, I'm loving all of these comments. I just want to get to as much as I can before I have to hop off here. I wonder if that horse that posed with Kale for the maternity shoot ever got therapy for the exposure. You and me both. Actually, that photo inspired me to watch that show, BoJack Horseman. I had seen commercials. And then, after I saw the horse picture, I was like, you know what? All right, I've seen a couple of horses today, so let's hop into this show, see what it's all about. I love this. Thank you so much, Shay. It is so nice to hop on live with you guys. Just a little reminder, I'm not going to be posting videos for a couple of weeks after today or after tomorrow. I should say tomorrow I'm doing the members only live stream recapping Teen Mom 2 Season 1 Episode 10. And then I think after that, I'm going to be MIA for at least 2 weeks, but I will try to hurry back. Jaleesa's here. Hey, Jaleesa, nice to see you again. I really want Devoin and Brianna to do couples therapy, whether it's on a show or behind closed doors. I would prefer it to be on a show because I need the content, but that is a really, really good idea, actually, because I wonder like what kind of different perspective we'd get from WeTV cameras versus the MTV cameras. And I really liked actually when Kailyn and Tyler did couples therapy. I thought that was a really huge revelation about what was going on in their relationship as well. So it could be quite interesting to see this. This topic's hard because I've been in the same position as a single mom. I could understand. Yeah, like everything is just always a little bit like more complex and nuanced than like, I'm able to kind of discuss in these short sound bites. But yeah, I totally agree. Bentley and Ryan makes me so sad. Absolutely. Me too. It's crazy. Yeah. It's really, really disappointing that is the only storyline that Macy has to give to us. Hey, Caroline. Thank you so much for watching. I caught Chris's live saying he didn't care about Devoin being on Coffee Convos and he had no intent of inviting Brianna. Wow. He doesn't know PR at all. He should have invited Brianna. It should have been so great for his podcast. Brianna would never do therapy, she says. Yeah. But you know what? She did do the family therapy, I think it was, on VH1. Have you seen the Being Britney special? I think I vaguely remember it. Vaguely. I don't really like to watch specials about Teen Mom or anything like that, so I'm so out of the loop on it. But I will try to like binge, during the like weeks I'm off, you guys. They try to punch him out, but he's hanging in there. And it just goes to show how much he loves his daughter. Hey, Candy Silla, thank you so much for being here. And good night to you, Candy Cane. Gracie Queen, thanks for always taking one for the team and summing up the clownery for us. Of course, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys, I really wish I could get to all of the comments, but that is a recap of what went down on the Coffee Convos podcast. And as usual, thank you so, so much for tuning into this live. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys again in March. Take care. Have a nice weekend and have a nice few weeks as well. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.